Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is Alex Opacic. Alex is an old connection of mine, actually. A guy I think I caught up with many years back when I was in Sydney. Since then, he has progressed to run his own business, a business owner, director, former sales professional, recruitment business owner now, former professional basketball player. So he's got a lot going on. Really interesting chap, and I'm looking forward to catching up with him, seeing how he's been getting on, and for him to share some of his wisdom and for me to learn from him a little bit, and talk all things recruitment as well. I'm sure. So, Alex, with that introduction, mate, welcome to the show. How are you getting on?
Appreciate it, Joe. Thanks for having me on, mate. No, doing well. Excited to. I'll try and bestow some wisdom here. But yeah, I think was it might have been about 5 years ago or so that you and I met. It was
I think
I
so.
think it was a
Yeah.
sales training, wasn't it,
Yes, I think so.
at
Yes.
your
Yeah.
office?
Yeah.
As well.
So yeah, I think it has been quite a few years since we last sort of properly caught up. Um, since then, you left your role in sales. You started your own business, athlete to business. So just sort of broadly speaking, I think you're sort of nearly 3 or 4 years into it.
Almost,
How's it
yeah.
all been going? How have you found that venture so far?
Yeah, I mean it's been an extraordinary journey. It's been lots of ups and downs, and the ups and downs are continuing. But overall, I find it's weird. I hate the first thing that jumps at me. Like I kind of compare it to not the same obviously, but just the first description I can think of to kind of compare it to kids, to having kids in a way. It's like so exciting. It's the best, but it's stressful. It's nerve
Okay.
wracking. It's uh, you just don't know what you're gonna get from one day to
Yeah.
the next. In a similar way, and it's a weird comparison. But because at the same time I started my business, I started having kids. So I've got two kids now, so I was like, it's kind of yeah, it's all words, man. I don't have like it's amazing. At the same time,
Yeah.
it's so stressful, but it's amazing. That's how I can describe it.
I can just imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the business itself, athlete to business. How do you describe the sort of the purpose of your company? What do you do? How are you helping your customers, and how are you helping your candidates as well?
Yeah, look, so I'll start back to just how I why I started it.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was kind of I guess scratching my own itch. So I used to be a pro basketball player back in the day, a long time ago. I'm really washed up now. Um, and when I retired from the game, I had a few knee injuries. Then I had surgeries, and it was just kind of game over for me, really. At a fairly young age, 25, 26. Um, and I struggled with transitioning out of the game. Just had no idea what to do next. I must have changed jobs for about a good period of year and a half, 2 years, maybe 8 times. Had no idea what to do, but eventually I landed on my feet in sales, and my you guys actually placed me,
Yeah.
Tim West, placed me in my very first role in media sales, which I loved, really loved. Did that for so I worked in media sales for almost 6 years, and then Tim again placed me in another sales role after that, which was really cool. And just in my journey, mate, I noticed a lot of other athletes who end up in sales and who do really well. Some kind of elite athlete background, whether it's back in high school, university, and then some that are lucky enough to go professionally. I just find their skills translate really well into sales. But I also noticed a lot of athletes like myself struggle with that transition initially. So I started my business to bridge that gap. So the purpose of my business is to raise awareness to the corporate world of, hey, you should seriously look at these elite athletes for your business teams. They can bring so much value. And at the same time, I wanted to raise awareness to athletes and be like, hey, there's this whole career ahead of you in sales, also recruitment. I do rec to rec as well. That you can thrive in and be very
Yeah.
successful if you translate your skills. So that's the purpose behind it, is to open doorways for athletes into fulfilling careers post sport.
Yeah. Nice. And how do you sort of go about? My initial thoughts are, how would you find these athletes? Like, are you sort of well, I guess, connected in that world, given your background and that sort of thing? So that's your product, right? Your product is these athletes who are looking to get into sales.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, look, over the last almost 4 years, my business has really morphed into developing a massive network of former athletes who are in sales already.
Yeah.
Right, as I'm sure you know, like there's a lot of athletes in sales. So most of my world is focused on placing experienced sales professionals
Okay. Yeah.
into roles. Um, 20% of my activities are focused on athletes who are transitioning from
Okay.
sport
Yeah.
into roles. It's a minuscule
Yeah.
time, but I mean, we can get into it. It's a whole other reasons to why. But in terms of finding those athletes, I've partnered with most of the sporting organisations in Australia now that will refer athletes to me as they
Okay.
retire.
Nice.
I do a lot of content as well, so I get a lot of word of mouth.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram. A lot of athletes are on Instagram,
Yeah.
so I get a lot of traction from that as well. So there's a variety of different ways.
Yeah. Gotcha. And as we say, 4 years in, you mentioned it has been, lots of ups and downs. What if you can have a think about it? What have been some of the high points, and then what have been some of the low points? Since you've launched this new
Yeah,
venture.
look, the low points are the most recent ones, so that's top
Okay.
of mind. So I can go into that as well. But the high point was I grew my business pretty quickly in the first 2 years. So I ended up I had 5 staff. I ended up
Yeah.
hiring 5 people within the business. So I had yeah, I guess only up until recently, so about almost 2 years, I had 5 people in the business. So that journey, to a point where I initially hired people, and then that first 6 months of having my own team was such a high, like it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Um, but then reality hit. It's okay. It's leadership. It's systems. It's operations. How do you motivate people? How do you assign tasks? How do you coach people? How do you get them to
Yeah.
perform? How do I perform whilst also helping other people perform? And that journey, I won't say that journey was a failure, but an epic learning curve for me.
Mhm.
Massive learning curve. So the low point is I had to scale back
Okay.
recently. And basically it's back to myself. I've got a couple of contractors still, and a part-time marketing person, but in terms of my broader team, I've had to scale back, but mainly because I don't think I was ready for leadership, hand on heart. But
Mhm.
so lots of lessons from that.
Mate, that's very, humble for you to admit that. I think, and it sounds like a really interesting learning curve. Because something I often think about, that transition from maybe just being a salesperson to leadership. It's so difficult. And you, at the same time, you were doing that, but also that transition to, you're also running a business as well, and you'd never done it before.
No,
So
I've never done it.
I would say it would be unfair for you to say, expect to get it all right.
You're right. Yeah, it's yeah the journey of leading a team, and once you do have a team, like you've got a proper business now, mate, it's a lot harder than I thought it would be.
What are some things you might look to improve on? The lessons you've learned. You mentioned some big learning curve.
Yeah.
What can you take from it moving forward?
The first thing I would do is once you and I consulted, I spoke to various different business coaches and consult. I've got a really good business coach who's helped me out as well, and we
Yeah.
did the best we could. But the first thing I would do is the moment I hire a team, 80% of my activities should be focused on coaching and mentoring, and making myself redundant. So getting them to generate the revenue that I'm generating, and coaching folks. So you'll have to give yourself, I'd say 6 months of, okay, the revenue might not be as good now for the next 6 months, but that's because I'm investing in coaching my team to start doing what I was doing. So therefore, then I can focus on other activities to grow the business. So that's the first thing. Where what I was doing the opposite. 80% of my time was spent on me generating sales, and 20% of my time was spent on coaching my team, which was wrong.
Yeah.
The other thing I would do is implement KPIs, systems, and processes from day zero. So I hired my team, and I was kind of going with the flow. And then about 7-8 months in, I realized, you know what, revenue hasn't moved since I've had 5 people. Therefore, profits must be plummeting. So let's look at what we're doing day to day, and then let's implement KPIs. And it's just too late by then. It was a losing battle from there. So really the first 2 things is I need to become a leader, manager, coach immediately,
Yeah.
and I need to be okay with revenue dropping whilst I'm coaching my team, because otherwise you're stuck in no man's land if you're doing a bit of both.
Sorry, mate. Yeah.
Go on.
I was going to say, I can imagine that first one's an easy trap to fall into, because as you're a business owner, your immediate thought is, where's the money coming from?
That's
So
it.
that's why you're, as you say, that 80% was right. Let's close some deals.
That's it. And I'm a salesperson at heart. That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's all I know how to do. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting, mate. If we sort of go back to the business itself, the what you've been doing over the last few years, I'm interested to sort of hear maybe a few stories about some athletes that you've placed into some businesses that are doing well. Are there any sort of really success stories that stand out to you that some case studies, I guess, that really you could share?
There's a few, yeah. I mean, there's a couple that really stand out. One of them is a former a pro footballer, round ball game for
My football, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Mine too. I was born in
Yeah,
I was born
yeah,
in
I
Croatia,
forget. Yeah,
so I use
us Europeans.
Europeans. Yeah. There's only one football in Europe. Um, but he played for 12 years, and then retired. Wasn't really sure what to do next. I initially placed him in a 6-month role. It was a contract role with the sales training business. It was purely doing just a lot of cold calling, just generating leads. So he did that for 6 months. Then I placed him in a recruitment role,
Yeah.
tech recruitment, and he did exceptionally well. So within his first 2 years, he's almost become a $1 million biller, and just exceptional talent. So that's a great story there. And then there's another one, another former pro footballer as well, that I placed with a big finance company. No prior experience in the industry, but again, has the attitude, the resilience, the grind, and has done exceptionally well. Has become one of their best performers in Australia for a global finance business. So those are a few that stand out, but there's quite a lot that have become one of the best performers in their business. Some even on a global scale within the first year and a half, 2 years.
You said a few words there, I think, attitude and resilience, about that particular individual who's you placed and doing really well. I guess this is an opportunity for you to sort of sell athletes and why they make great salesperson. What is it about, say, former professional athletes that are now transitioning into the world of sales and business that, in your opinion, often allows them to be successful?
Resilience is the key one that stands out in sport. We as athletes, most athletes really lose more than they win. Because if we all kept winning, we'd end up, NBA,
Yeah.
Premier League, Champions League, you name it. I mean, even at that level, a lot of them you lose. So so as athletes, we're really good at losing. What I mean by that is really good at losing sounds weird. What I mean by that is we know how to take losses.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect us, or it might affect us for 10, 15, 20 minutes, but it's like, all right, cool. What did I learn from that? Let's move on. How do I win in the next one? And that's just a continuous cycle of being resilient and emotionally strong, mentally strong enough to learn from your losses and not let it affect you, move on to the next one and win. That's the biggest, I think, one of the biggest skills that athletes possess. And then, as you know, in sales, you probably lose more than you win. Like, if you have an 80% close rate, it's impossible. So in sales, you're constantly getting rejections, you're constantly getting knockbacks, but athletes can handle that and take it and learn from it and move on and win on
Yeah.
the next one. So that's the key attribute that stands out.
It's being able to bounce back quickly, isn't it? Because I think everyone, like, when you deal with a loss in sales or on the pitch, it hurts. However long you've been doing it, it hurts.
Yeah.
But it's more about how long I think you kind of sit on that for. Like, if I look at recruitment experience, when I first lost a deal years ago when I first started, if it was a particular one I was really invested in, it might take days to get over. But as I sort of developed that resilience over the years, it's sort of I might have 10 minutes where I'm pissed off, but then I'm sort of can quite quickly bounce back from it. Is that sort of where you're getting at? Because I think so a professional athlete, they'll lose a game, they'll still hurt. Like, they won't brush it off as if it's nothing, but they'll bounce back quicker and take the lessons and the learnings maybe better than someone who doesn't have that.
Absolutely.
Experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. That's what it is. And it's funny. I learned myself. I mean, I worked in sales, and obviously I'm now in recruitment. I found the losses in recruitment do hurt a little more than in a sales role.
Okay, yeah.
Honestly, like in the last, I was just actually thinking about it. I was walking to the office in the last 3.5 years. I feel like working in recruitment alone has really strengthened my mental resilience. Even I mean, I tell myself that, but I think it really has. Yeah, I think the losses in recruitment hurt a little more. So that's why you got to be even more resilient. I don't want to say built like a rock, but you really have to. My business coach uses the phrase of follow the process without emotional attachment to the result, and I try and just always remember that. It's just day in, day out. Make your calls,
Yeah.
regardless of the outcome. Just keep going, keep going. That's the game.
Why do the losses in recruitment hurt more than sales, do you think?
It's a good question, man. I think because it is my own business as well, I guess, so it hurts
Yeah,
more.
true. Yeah.
But I think I think in recruitment you get. I'll be more specific. For me personally, it hurts more when the candidate pulls out of a role or the candidate refuses the role.
Yeah.
Because it's like you work this hard and there's an offer there on the table for your candidate from your client. Like, that's a sale. Like, great, I've sold that candidate into the client. The client likes the candidate, and they're going to offer him the role. Perfect, done. And it's like, hey, I've got this role for you. Changed my mind. I broke my ankle. I can't work for the next 3 months. So whatever, all kinds of. I've got a better offer somewhere. All kinds of excuses. You're like, shit. I don't know. That to me, it's tough to take, but that's the game, right? That's the game. The more I do it, the more I'm used to it, and there's ways I negate that.
You mentioned there about that's the game. That reminds me of, I think, a post of yours that you did fairly recently, which caught my eye.
Yeah.
Which I was going to bring up anyway. I think it was you talking about kind of what we've been discussing a little bit, the ups and downs of recruitment. And sort of you were giving some advice about how best to deal with that. And I think some of the main points that caught my eye of the advice, which I agreed with and resonated with me personally, was I think don't take yourself too seriously, and gamify recruitment. Just going back to that's the game. What did you mean by those points, and how have those points do you think helped you in your recruitment business?
Yeah, good. On the first point, don't take yourself too seriously. I kind of I always like to take a step back and just and not to get all spiritual and philosophical on.
Go for it.
But I like to take a step back and kind of come from more of an abundance point of view and a larger worldly life point of view, in a sense of, at the end of the day, we're all gonna. This sounds. I don't want this to sound morbid or anything like that, but at the end of the day, like, we're all gonna die one day, right? And if you look at the bigger picture of like how long humanity has been around, how big the universe is, our lives are literally a tiny little, not even an atom smaller in the bigger picture of things. I feel like sometimes in our mind, like we take ourselves, and I might be wrong, but like way too serious, and the losses hurt so much. But it's like, I don't know, like humanity's been around for such a long time. Like, you're not that important.
Yeah.
So that thought, maybe to some might sound morbid, but to me it just sounds like, oh, well then just have fun. Like, we're only
Yeah.
around for a little, short period, but just
Yeah.
have fun, enjoy life. So
Yeah.
I don't know, that thought. There's I don't know if you listen to the Tim Ferriss show.
A few episodes, but not
I can send it.
religiously.
There's a 20-minute clip that he interviews a guy who talks about meditation through astrology, whatever it is. It's a really humbling 20 minutes that kind of gets you to think about that point of view. I can send it if you like, if you want to listen to it. But that just makes me step back and be like, right, I'm not that important. All good.
Yeah.
Move on. And then the second one on that making it fun part is I like to gamify recruitment in a sense of kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, following the process without emotional attachment to the results. Look, just little short wins throughout the day. Kind of reframe, right? Okay, I'm winning. I'm doing well. I'm doing the best I can in this. Like, so some of the things I like to do on a daily basis, I'll try and get eight to 10 candidate calls, and 3 to 4 client calls every day, and then I'll try and set up one first interview per day. So by the end of the week, I've got 5 first interviews. There's 5 people interviewing next week.
Yeah.
Or the week after. That should equal success.
Yeah.
So that's the little game I play.
Yeah.
Really.
That's the thing about recruitment. You can just simplify it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You can just if you're sort of struggling, you can just go back to the numbers a little bit and like, right, let's just make sure I hit these numbers, and if I do enough of that over a period of time, the right results will come. And I think about the first point as well, like, just have fun with it, because and big picture thinking is great advice, by the way, because it's sort of, sometimes you have that, you go leave the office and you're whinging about, oh, my candidate accepted another role, and then you think about it, it's like, in the big picture, it's nothing, it's not that important. And that thing about, you're not going to be here forever, so that's something I try and think about. Like, these are often, I'll probably, you as me as well, like, there'll be a point in your life where you'll look back at this point right now, like, oh, that was like the glory days. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wish I was that young again, having fun working in recruitment, a job that I'm lucky enough to really enjoy. I'd rather look back that I was having a laugh, having fun doing it, rather than sitting about.
It's the same. When I played college basketball in the US, and I remember at the time I was stressed in certain situations, and it's like, oh, it's pressure. I look back on it now, like, those are some of the best times of my life.
Yeah, I bet.
Sometimes you're like, oh, I should have just enjoyed the moment a little bit more.
I bet. Yeah.
The same thing. We're going to do the same thing 10 years from now about this very moment too.
Yeah, I bet. Next question, mate. We've touched upon a little bit of this already, but as I said, it's something I'm interested in. So people who are transitioning, I think it's getting more and more common. People are going out and doing their own thing, starting their own business like you have. Any sort of words of wisdom to them? Any advice that you have picked up over the last few years that you could impart to someone that was maybe thinking about doing it but wasn't quite sure how to start? What would you say to them?
I mean, there's lots. I've got lots of advice.
Sorry, that could be a whole episode. I guess.
No, it can be, but no. But some that stand out. I mean, the first one. I mean, you hear this advice often: is just start, just do it.
Yeah,
it's simple. But the other one is, I'll try. I'll get technical first, and like the technicalities of it, and then the again, the more worldly and emotional side of things. But in the technicalities, my advice is usually make sure you have 6 months runway. So, have 6 months worth of your monthly spending, whatever it is, to live in the bank, and then go do it. The other one is, the moment you start your business, implement, even if it's just by yourself, implement systems and processes that you're going to have when you have 5-10 people. Do it now, right? So when you hire people, it's automatic. It's right. This is what we're doing, and then have a playbook as well. The playbook for everything. This is how I generate leads. This is how I interview candidates. This is how I go after clients. This is how I close deals. Just have a playbook for everything that you're doing that's kind of revenue generating. So again, new starters come in. Hey, here's our playbook. We'll be going through coaching of that. So that's systems and processes is probably the main one. Make sure you have that down pat. And then, I mean, simple thing is, it's probably an obvious one, but sometimes it might not be. Everything you earn, put 30% aside straight away for tax. It's a simple, and maybe some of it that's obvious, that's dumb. But as a business owner, you just, I don't know, you sometimes forget. So those are little things there too.
Yeah.
It's probably the main ones. And then again, if you're hiring staff, as I said, make sure you're focusing on coaching and mentoring. And if you need people to hit the ground running straight away with minimal coaching, if that's your thing, advice is maybe first hire a GM before you do that, or you're going to have to pay a bit more money on the base salary to hire somebody who's going to hit the ground running. So yeah, those are some things to think about.
No, really good, man.
Yeah.
What about biggest lesson you've learned about yourself in the last 4 years?
I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I think I realized, again, without sounding arrogant or anything like that, I've become a risk taker, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I always say to people, if you're willing to take risks, that's the only way to grow. I think I'm more resilient than I thought as well.
Yeah.
And I think the experiences in the last 4 years have made me more emotionally resilient and emotionally stronger. And I think, my willingness now to be okay with risk and okay with failure, because I took risks in hiring people 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I bootstrapped this business. It's my family money, and I gave it away to invest to grow the business. It didn't work out, but I'm still here, breathing. Kids are cool. We're still okay. Knock on wood.
Absolutely.
So I think that whole experience, I've learned, like, okay, I can endure that, the crazy ups and downs, and I think I'm a lot more resilient than I thought. I didn't think that I was maybe not resilient, but I just realized, like, shit, okay, I can do that. I can just keep going and do anything.
Yeah, love it, man. We've talked quite a bit about the past, what you've been doing the last few years. What about the future? What does the future hold? For yourself, athlete to business. What are some of the goals for the future?
Yeah, look, to be honest, the next 6 months for me are just keep going and back to me being an individual contributor performer.
Okay.
In terms of 360 recruitment. I've got certain consistent goal revenue numbers that I want to hit in mind, and it's just that. But in terms of business and scalability, post 6 months, I do want to start growing my business again, because now I'm equipped with a lot of knowledge on how to do it better. And also, one of my biggest, I think you'll start seeing it in soon, is I've realized that it's the athlete transition phase is something I'm really passionate about, and I've realized there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. So education and training is something I am going to be, I'm already started focusing on, but going to start expanding on that more and more. I think there's a lot that can be done in the education and training side of things to ensure that athletes transition from sport a lot better than I'm seeing currently that they are.
Mm-hmm. So you still want to grow the team, but that'll be down the track, maybe in the next couple of years, or over 6 months.
I'd say probably around June onwards, I'll look to grow the team again. I think to be completely honest as well, like I am, from the last 3.5 years, like I am tired. So it's been, so I think, hiring someone right now, I'm not in a good state
Yeah.
to implement all the lessons I've had, and I just at the moment, I'm to be honest, I'm just happy running it more like
Yeah.
a lifestyle business
Yeah.
as a solopreneur, and then let's reevaluate post 6 months.
As you say, it sounds like you've been doing quite a bit of reflections of the hiring, that you have done, and then when you're ready, take those learnings and
Yeah, I'm not ready
implement.
now. I don't think I'll be ready in the next 3 months, but post June, let's see what
Yeah.
the economic climate does. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's been,
Yeah. Next year, who knows?
yeah.
One final question for me. This is my closing question on this show. It's you can take this whichever way you like, personal, professional, but it's around the idea of success. So, to yourself, what does success mean in your life?
Look, to me, success means having um, a holistic, balanced life. So what I mean by that is, it's very simple, but a lot harder than, I mean, to think to a lot of people. But I look at my life in different quadrants, and it's um, career success, relationship success. So with your wife, husband, and family. So let's call it, career success, family success, and health. And then also the fourth quadrant is your social life, and being around your friends. So
Yeah.
success to me is having those four things in balance. And if I look at every single category, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm content,
Mm.
happy with it all. And yeah, let's keep going, living, enjoying life like that. To
Yeah.
me, I mean, as
Good man.
simple as it is, that's success to me.
Yeah.
So everyone has different levels of where they want to get to in those quadrants, but yeah, I mean, so I want to achieve certain levels in those quadrants. At times, one of the or two of those quadrants to me, like I'm doing really really well, but in the other two, I'm not.
Yeah.
And hand on heart, I'm not. I'm not like, yeah, I'm smashing goals in all four of those quadrants. I'm not.
Yeah.
I want to be able to be. Let's smash goals in all four of those quadrants.
Yeah.
It's harder than it's easier said.
Can I just add something to that? So,
Yeah,
I've something I've thought. Something I think about a lot, and I've got the same thing, right? Those pillars, whatever quadrants, whatever you want to call them, parts of my life that you care about, you want to do well in.
yeah,
And for a long time, it was like I wanted to be smashing it at all of them, and then I realized that's actually often impossible.
yeah,
There's always going to be one. So say you're really crushing it at work, spending long hours, your health might take a little hit, or
yeah,
your social, one of those things might take a hit. And I used to get sort of frustrated, like, I can't, but over time I've learned that success is actually learning to be okay with when one of them drops. Like, yeah, maybe my social life hasn't been quite as I would have liked, but that's okay.
It
It's
happens.
just
That's
learning
right.
to be
Yeah.
okay when the pillars aren't always at the
It's
peak.
hard, yeah. I think as long as as long as unsimilar, like, as long as, I don't know, 12 months, 24 months, you look back and you've had some sort of moderation in all of them. But yeah, like, for me, like this last 2 years, I'd say my social life has taken a bit of a hit because I'm focused on growing the business. What one like for me personally, one common denominator that doesn't that'll never be low is family. Like, I really value family,
Right. Yeah.
kids, wife, make
Yeah.
sure that's all okay, and that comes at a cost sometimes of something, of
Yeah.
in maybe the business struggling, but at the same time, like, then you're like, all right, well, you better pull up socks in the business, because you got to pay the bills and the mortgage, otherwise your family won't be able to live where you live. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean, like, just having, and that, as you said, that balance doesn't have to be in any given time all four of those are rocky. Just over time, make sure that there's balance across all four of those.
Yeah, great stuff. Alex, thank you very much for joining me today. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing a lot about what you've been up to, especially the last few years. It sounds like quite a journey that you've taken a lot from the ups and downs, and I think there's I'm sure there's like some good times ahead and some success in that business. So, mate, appreciate what you're doing. Keep going. Let's stay in touch. And I think anyone listening to that, anyone recruitment, sales, business owner can take a lot from what you've just divulge there. So thank you very much, mate.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Joe. And yeah, let's definitely stay in touch.